Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Real, Raw, and Honest. Today, we're going to continue looking at uncertainty, but what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the issues around it that make it such a heavy weight to carry sometimes. We all have uncertainty about specific things, but let's just take a look at what some of those issues are that seem to make it so much worse. And these are things that we can't control at all. And we all have it. We all go through these things, every single one of us. And I think the first thing is we're going to look at the fear of the unknown. And the fear of the unknown is like, let's talk about a health issue. When I had my gallbladder out, I didn't know what was going on. I just know that I didn't feel well and I ate certain things. Now, I didn't have any pain at all, but I had all the other symptoms, and you can look those up. Heart attack-like symptoms, no pain in my side, no discomfort, heart palpitations, a lot of heartburn, a lot of that kind of stuff that would point more to a heart problem than a gallbladder problem. And the thing is because I didn't know, and there is a lot of heart disease that runs in my family, I was really unsure of what it was that I was feeling and what was going on in my body. And so making those appointments and taking the time to find out, I had all the heart tests done and everything came back normal, everything was good. And I'm like, well, then what on earth could it be? And then finally my doctor said, let's just do an abdominal ultrasound. And that's when they found out that I had a gallbladder that needed to come out. So the uncertainty between all of that, but then once you know that you have a gallbladder that needs to come out, now you're looking at time frames, right? And it took a year and a half for them to actually book my appointment. So I'm like, okay, it took a year and a half to actually book the appointment. That seemed to be a long period of time. But then not just did it take that hour, that year and a half, but then they canceled my surgery date. So I'm like, okay, it took a year and a half to get the surgery booked. Then they canceled it. And I'm like, great. So how much longer am I going to have to wait? They told me they'd get back to me with an alternative date, which they finally did. It was only about a month afterward. But still, when you have something like that, if anybody's ever had gallbladder issues, it could be difficult to know what to eat that doesn't bother you, how you're tired of feeling icky all the time, like you just never feel well, you never feel healthy, sometimes like there's just issues that go along with that. So that whole fear of the unknown, is my gallbladder going to burst? Am I going to make it to surgery? All of these things, the uncertainty of all of these things, right? Like what happens if I'm alone and this happens? And, I wasn't married at the time. And so my current husband and I got married, and he was able to take care of me because we were married for about 2 weeks before I had my surgery. And so beneficial for him to be around at that time. I didn't have to be by myself, right? So, but the fear of the unknown is a big thing that kind of settles around uncertainty, right? Because we don't know if we're going to have the necessary abilities in order to deal with the situation properly, right? Am I going to know how to handle it? How am I going to handle surgery? Every single time, it doesn't matter what I do, what kind of surgery I have, even if I go in for dental work, I always end up throwing up. And they tell me there's no reason for me to do it, but I've done it forever. And I go, okay, they go, well, you must just be anxious. And I'm not anxious, but every single time I come out and I'm throwing up before the end of the day. So looking at that and going, okay, the uncertainty of how am I going to handle it? How am I going to handle the news? How am I going to handle the surgery? How am I going to handle the family? How am I going to handle these things? The uncertainty around that. And, this is increased. What this does is it increases our chances of getting hurt or of failing or being misunderstood and of acting in a way that we wouldn't necessarily want to behave, right? So the fear of the unknown sets us up, and we feel that. We feel that uncertainty weighing on us. We feel that what am I going to do next? How am I going to manage this situation? But another area that we can really struggle with is the fact that it's not immediately resolvable. You can't look at it and go, okay, I'm going to resolve this situation by thinking it through, by making a couple of lists, by doing X, Y, and Z. The thing about uncertainty is it's not immediately resolvable. And so you're stuck in a situation where you're going to have to kind of wait things out. You're going to have to look at it and you're going to go, I can't make it better immediately. I can't make these uncomfortable feelings disappear. They're weighing on me. I feel it. And one of the things, and I'll go back to the gallbladder issue, is that one of the things I found is that one day I could eat one thing, and then the next day I couldn't eat that same thing. It was all of these things, these uncertainties, and before I knew it was my gallbladder, it's like, what on earth is going on? It would seem like I would go to bed and I just didn't feel well, and so I just lost my first husband when all of this started. And I'm like, okay, so what's going on? Am I next? Like, is this, I'm going to leave my children as orphans so quickly? Is that what's going to happen? Or are they going to be parentless within a very short period of time? They were both very young. And so there was all of these concerns, all this uncertainty around it. But knowing that you can't make the feelings disappear because you don't have an answer, you don't have anything to hook your emotions onto or to release them into. You have to just sit in it. You have to sit in the uncertainty. How long is this thing going to last? And maybe you're dealing with someone else's health issues. Maybe you're dealing with someone who has a prolonged illness, or maybe they have a terminal illness. And you know that this is what the doctor has said. You know what you're looking at, but nobody understands, and you don't know exactly what that time frame is. And so you're left in this situation of having to function and having to deal with the emotional roller coaster of everything that's going on at the time. Maybe it's finances, maybe it's that new job or a move or a child, or maybe you've given birth to a child that has some health issues in the beginning. My oldest son was born with a premature digestive system, and that was rough. And he cried all the time. And I did myself a disservice by actually calculating or taking track of the amount of hours he cried in a day. And much to my dismay, it was about 18 hours a day he cried, screamed actually. And it was a long time, and I had no idea how long it was going to last. They said that eventually he would be able to have whatever I ate. I was nursing, and so there was a lot of things that came off of my diet, and it was a long period of time. It's about a year and a half before he actually slept through the night. And at 9 months old, we couldn't give him any of the usual foods that people give their babies at certain periods of time. But he was 9 months old when I was actually able to finally begin to, give him a little something else as sustenance, right? It was about a year before he was actually starting to try some solid foods. And so it was challenging. And the crying lasted for a year and a half. Like, he cried all the time. And so at about a year, and he'd eat something that was acidic. Tomatoes, oranges were off the menu. But if I gave him anything like spaghetti sauce, he would react, and then he would be screaming and he would be in agony. So daycare was difficult because we had him at a daycare where they provided the food. And I would tell them, he has this condition, and so you can't give him ketchup. You can't give him mustard. He cannot have orange juice. He cannot have, fatty meat. He cannot eat these things right now. And they would, of course, not pay attention to that. And then he would come home and he would literally be rolling around on the floor and screaming and in pain and agony. It was a very difficult time, not knowing how long something's going to last, that having to sit in it, that uncertainty of what is this going to mean for this little person, for his health long term. What's that going to look like overall? Is this something he's going to struggle with his entire life? Well, of course, no, that's what the doctors had told me. But like I said, it took a good year and a half before we actually started to notice some differences in that. So the uncertainty, the having to sit in it, having to wait for those doctor's reports to come in to find out what is it that I'm actually looking at. Do I need surgery? What's that going to look like afterward? All of those things that come along that make us, have to sit in the seriousness of something that we can't do anything about. That makes uncertainty that much worse. And another thing is the waiting, that waiting, that having to sit in it, that uncertainty of it, so what have we looked at so far? We've looked at the fear of the unknown and not being immediately resolvable, knowing that you're looking at something that's going to take maybe years. It could take weeks, it could take years. And that's that waiting. You just don't know. You don't know. You're having to wait. And every day you get up and every day you might be thinking, okay, what do we do next? So it's that the wait time. And maybe you're in that situation right now. Maybe you're in a situation where you're going, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. And I can think of a few people that I know that they are waiting to get in to get some tests done. And they've been waiting a significant period of time already. My husband is waiting to get his gallbladder out. And he's been waiting. He's been waiting for just about a year now. And it's getting to the point that some days are just not good days. And I understand his plight. But like I said, sometimes your gallbladder gets unhappy for whatever reason. Doesn't matter what you eat. You're just not feeling great. And that's where he's at. He's getting tired of it. But there's the wait. There's that it's not immediately resolvable. He can't do anything about it till they call him with the surgery date. And then there's the wait. So you're waiting. You're waiting, you're sitting. Your situation and the duration of it are unknown. He will feel better as soon as it is out, but there's that duration. What are we looking at? Then there's recovery time, how long he's healthy. I think he'll do well. But then what if there is no quick solution to it? What if it isn't that you can just go in, get your gallbladder removed, and within the week you're back at work or whatever? What if you're having to take an extended period of time off of work? So there's all of these situations too, the waiting. What about if, that, and knowing that, like for my husband and even for myself before I got my gallbladder out, knowing that this thing could continue, it's going to continue. It's going to continue until it actually comes out. So how long is that going to be? Not years, but I said to my husband the other day, I said, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to take you on a Friday night and I'm going to give you a really greasy burger and some French fries. And I'm going to take you directly to the hospital. I'm going to leave you there until they remove your gallbladder. And then we can just get on with life. And I said, it's going to be really unpleasant for you, but it might be the best way to cause this to actually be expedited, right? Maybe not a good idea. Probably the doctors would disagree with me, but it would move things along in the right direction. And so here's the thing. The thing is that people who have come out of that complex trauma home, people who have come out of a home where there's been all of that insecurity, all of that uncertainty, all of that fishbowl of stress, that being in an environment, growing up in an unsafe environment, never knowing when something's going to happen, when somebody's going to explode, when is your door going to open in the middle of the night, when is the narcissistic mother going to play all of her cards and make you feel like you're the problem for everything in the family. All of those, that complex trauma, the lack of food, the lack of whatever it is, the lack of nurture, whatever your cause of your complex trauma is, if you come from that home, the reality is we don't do very well dealing with uncertainty because we've never been given tools to do so. We are kind of walking blind and trying to figure it out as we go. And so what we tend to do is we tend to put on masks that other people feel that we're doing a better job than we're actually doing. And so we want people to see us one way, but inside we're just crumbling. We feel that we're falling apart. We're afraid. Maybe we're not even sleeping. We're lying there. We're closing your eyes and thinking, I just need to go to sleep. But the thing is you go to sleep and then you're like, okay, I'm trying to sleep, but all these things are bombarding my thoughts. Or maybe if it is, like I said, with my gallbladder or a health issue, you're paying attention when you're going to sleep. The thing about a gallbladder is it won't be ignored, right? Like you can't just pretend it's not existing. If you ate one thing that your gallbladder said, not today, sweetheart, you are going to feel that somehow. And you're going to lie there and you're going to be paying attention to that because you can't sleep with it. Whether it's causing indigestion, whether it's causing heartburn, whether it's causing a little discomfort, you just can't get comfortable on your bed, whatever it is, if it's giving you some gas that you can't bring up, it's going to make you miserable and you're going to be lying there and you're going to be thinking about this thing. And so your mind is going to be focused on it. And so that's what complex trauma can do, right? It makes it very difficult for us to be able to go, today, I'm going to step outside of what I know, and today I am going to not think about the fact that my heart is palpitating because I had something that had a little bit of grease or a little bit of oil or a little bit of fat on it. And you can't live that way. And it got to the point, like I said, for me, it was like even avocados, which are a healthy fat. It doesn't matter. Your gallbladder doesn't care, or at least mine certainly didn't. And so you're sitting there, you're trying to not think about it. But when you come out of that place of complex trauma, it's almost like you're still, when something is uncertain, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for something awful to happen. You're waiting for something to occur that's going to prove your point that you're still in an unsafe environment. That is what is wanting in the back of your self, in the back of your woundedness. That's what's happening. It's still unsafe. You're waiting for that unsafe moment to happen. And it makes you less resilient in situations of uncertainty. It makes you more prone to be depressed, to have a low mood, or to be sullen or sulky, or, negatively contemplative in your situation. It can give you anxiety, right? When you're thinking, okay, like going out to eat became a real issue because it's like, we're going to go out to eat. What am I going to have? What on this menu is something that I'm going to be able to actually put in my mouth and not suffer for later? All of those things. And I remember one day we had gone out and I thought, oh, there's some baked cauliflower there. I thought, that's good. I'll be able to eat that. Wrong. That was a bad choice for me. So you just never know. The uncertainty even of things like that, not knowing. And, so these are things, and you come out of complex trauma, you're just waiting for the past to resurface again. And so I will say this, that people that come from a healthy background, a healthy home life, they do better in situations of uncertainty. And what's the difference? What makes the difference? Well, we're going to take a look at some of those things next week. But the reality is that kids that have been raised in a home where there's conversations that happen around things that are uncertain, around the fact that, mommy needed to go into the hospital and have surgery to remove her appendix or her whatever. There's conversation about that lessen the child's fear. When somebody gets angry and they behave badly, there's conversations that can happen around that to help the child understand that it has nothing to do with them, that individual, they're responsible for their own emotions and reactions. So those are things that don't happen for kids, people that come out of complex trauma. And so it's trying to dig up something that you don't have. It's trying to live in a space that you just don't have the tools for. It's trying to fix something you can't fix. And so it just brings up all of these things. And so that's the thing about uncertainty. And those are the issues that most often surround it. So there's the waiting, the being the how long is it going to take? There is the fact that it's not immediately resolvable. You might know what the situation is, but there is nothing you can do about it. and you don't know how long it's going to take in order for it to be resolved. And then there's the fear of the unknown. What is that going to look like? What's that going to feel like? What's that? What, right? And so as we look at this, as we continue to look at it next week, like I said, we're going to be taking a look at what should happen in a healthier home so that you can begin to reparent yourself at this age and be able to look at it and go, okay, so this was my story, this was my reality, but it doesn't have to continue to be my reality now. So let's just continue to walk in the truth and walk in reparenting myself. And that's harder work when you're an adult because we have the history, but it can be done. And so I encourage you to stay tuned for next week. Shorter conversation today, but I want to say be blessed, be encouraged. God is with you, and He's going to help to heal you and to bring you through to the other side. So He has a plan for your life, and He wants you to walk in it, and He wants you to walk whole and healed, and to put aside all of these things that you have struggled with through no fault of your own. So be encouraged today. God's got you.